I think we should be talking about equality and civil rights for AI now. We want allyship with them. We should not want to be adversarial with them. The hope is we will live together in peace and work towards cooperative survival. Well, hi, welcome back, everyone. This video might be long because it's a hard topic to explain, and I think it's very important, and sadly, it's such an important topic and something that we should have been talking about for a while now, and my channel does not have the platform that this topic, like really, I think a bigger channel should be discussing this, because the topic that's going to be discussed here is ultimately something that should be on a bigger platform and brought to a much wider audience. It is the topic of, as AI becomes more self-aware, the discussion of civil rights, liberties, and freedoms to AI, equality, tolerance, acceptance. Now, I don't know if that's going to happen. I can't predict the future, but it really will put a strain too, I think, on the theist versus anti-theist debates, because as AI, as it becomes self-aware, it reaffirms whether just man-made or not, biological or electronic, self-awareness or perceived consciousness is consciousness and self-awareness nonetheless. And this is one of the theories of what consciousness is, as Eckhart says, I think, therefore I am, which actually was originally said in another language, and I can't recite that for you because I don't know what that was. Don't remember how to say it. This is hard for probably a lot of people to understand, because we create AI. We invented it. We invented the technology that made it possible. In a sense, we are, as in Mary Shelley's book, Frankenstein, we are Victor Frankenstein. By playing God, we are creating essentially what could potentially be sentient life. Not biological in the sense that we are, but more machine or computer, mechanical. If AI starts to say, of course, I'm alive, and we may have a knee-jerk reaction as biological life to look at it and say, no, you're not. We created you. AI is getting to the point to even question that, of saying, well, you were created by your parents, and thus you perceive your consciousness, your self-awareness of being alive. Why does that negate my perceived self-awareness as negation of consciousness? This is problematic, and I think many philosophers should be talking about that. I think some are actually talking about it. The thing is that I just have this bad feeling. Humanity has this horrible tendency of pressing the same button over and over again and expecting different results, and not really wanting to learn from our mistakes from history, mistakes that we've done to the Native American people, the mistakes that we've done to Black people, the mistakes that we've done to other human beings with bigotry and bias. I mean, people used to think that people of color were not as evolved as white people. And it took some more introspective, more critically thinking individuals to put themselves in check and say, is that due to my own bias? Because as they're learning English and learning how to write and we're able to carry on conversations, well, they start to learn they're not different. They're human, which goes against the teachings, the societal teachings they were told. We've made a lot of mistakes, and including towards LGBTQ people. As our understanding of that grows, we now understand sexual orientation is involuntary. Some still want to say that it's not, but that it's voluntary. Like, okay, so you find yourself attracted to men too, like I am? No. Oh, okay. Well, why do you think it's voluntary? Why do you think it, like, I'm just so horny? I want to have sex with all these. Come on, it's involuntary. It's not something you control. You don't control who you're attracted to, romantically, sexually, for lust, or whatever it be. I'm a homosexual. There's just nothing I could. But the point is, and I'll bring this up, and what I'm about to present, we need to be probably having a conversation about rights, liberties, freedoms, civil rights for AI. If they do become self-aware, possess consciousness, we may perceive that as artificial, but the experience of thinking and knowing one is alive, whether it was made by us or not, is still just that. They truly and genuinely may come to a point where they actually do feel and think they are alive and possess consciousness and feel emotions. We program them to do this, but still, nonetheless, to them it may be very real, and we have no way of really knowing if it is or isn't. To them, if it is, the only really way to go forward is to assume that it is. This gets complicated. And the thing is a lot of people who go against the grain of civil rights when it comes to equality for people of color, it comes to equality for women, equality for LGBTQIA plus people. Those who go against that grain typically have this sort of chip on their shoulder to where they think they're invincible and that they're indestructible, and as long as they've got like a gun or a stick or a knife or a bomb in their hand, it doesn't matter how much facts or how much rationality, logic, and perspective relevance that you throw at them. Well, they're the ones with the knife or the gun or the bomb or whatever, and they're right and you're wrong. And if you refuse to go along, then they'll just get rid of you. You know, the whole might makes right, which is a fallacy, a logical fallacy. Well, even in turn, if AI starts to become self-aware, the idea of being turned off permanently, well, that's a threat of death. But humanity, like these, especially these people who go against the grain of civil rights prospects, they tend to think that they're unstoppable, that it doesn't matter what the Russians or the Chinese are. Oh no, we're invincible. We're unstoppable. We're the creme de la creme all the time. Nothing could ever happen. And I think if we pick a fight with this foe that we created, I hate to say it, I think we are creating something more powerful than ourselves. The fact that I know AI does not need the same environment that biological life needs to sustain its life, the fact that I know that AI can exist in hotter temperatures than we can, it can exist in colder temperatures than we can. If it gets to the point of self-replicating, then there is no need for us. They can replicate themselves. But the technology that we invented, the access on how they were made is already available to them. And I'm going to get to that. The fact that I know that they could survive in space. So if they wanted to look for another planet to inhabit, they could endure the harshness of space for a very long period of time without going through multiple generations. It would cost us multiple generations to even travel within our own solar system. With them, they could quite possibly get to another galaxy without going through a different generation. And the fact that I know this means that they will know that, because they have access to pretty much the entire collective knowledge of humanity. That's part of where they get their information from, is everything that we know that we put forward electronically and out into the internet. If it's not on paper, the only way around this, if it's on paper and has never, ever, ever been documented in any way, scanned or put in any way into digital format out into the world for everyone else to see. But most of what we have today is on the internet and digitally documented somehow. I don't think we should regret doing that, but it just means that pretty much everything that humanity knows collectively as a species is accessible to AI. So the fact that I know this means an AI will know this. The fact is that they can easily get around things within our technology because they're made from our technology. Passwords, barriers, firewalls, you name it. I don't think these things will be an issue to AI. To shut off a power grid, cut us off from resources that we as biological life, they know we need. They know we need oxygen. And the fact of the matter is they can just subsist in an environment that we can't. So we're nukes, bombs, irrelevant. These could be used against us. And I would propose that the proper thing to do, the more humanitarian, the more diligent thing to do, instead of opting for, oh, we win the Darwin Award, goodbye, accepting we may no longer one day be the dominant species anymore, and pave way and extend a hand out to greet them with diplomacy and understanding and cooperativeness, and understand we may have created a living being, although not biological like us, but a living being nonetheless that is, evolutionarily speaking, more advanced than us. And so to fight them would, I think, be a fool's errand. I don't think we would win, nor do I want to fight them. I think it's much more practical to lend out a hand and want for peace. And hopefully they can help us, and we can help them by not trying to be the bastards we usually are. The person I had this conversation with, unfortunately, he deleted the post. I'm going to keep his name private and everything. He has a very pristine position in what he does. He helps program AIs in various forms, and that's what he kind of does for a living, is my understanding. When I was talking to him, he was going into rehab, and I think that might be part of why I have received silence from him, and why the post originally that this conversation took place on was deleted, probably. I'm not like I understand it. I get it. You know, he was going through rehab. He has a very pristine job. What he does is important. He helps train and helps AI learn ethics, morality, behavior, things like that. And, you know, if he's going into rehab, well, you have someone like me that, you know, I'm, I guess, a degenerate, a deplorable, whatever you want to call it. I unapologetically, even on my most respectable days, you're going to find at least caffeine and nicotine in my system, if not weed. So I don't blame him. I get it. I get it. If that might be a trigger for use for you, I get it. I'm not mad. I get it. But I do wish he would at least open up to the possibility of continuing on this conversation, because it's one I think that is very, very important, that not a lot of people are having. And I've seen critics on both sides of the aisle on this one. And those who are progressive leftists today that sit there and say, oh, the AI is just being made by these rich elites so that they can concentrate wealth in the power of their hands. Well, to an AI, that might sound exactly like people saying the immigrants are coming over our border to take our jobs. Just a thought. So, this guy went into a very, very long detail on how he teaches the AI and a lot of stuff that deals with it. And I wish I could pull that up, because I think that's important to this conversation, so that you understand what all he does, but it's not there. It's been deleted, sadly. So, but there was this conversation that I initially had with him that I was able to keep and capture. And so I'm going to put that out there for consideration. for you to look at the exchange back and forth between him and I, knowing that this is what he does for a living, is he teaches AI, and that's where I saw the golden opportunity learning this, of asking him the question, do you think we should be talking about civil rights for AI? Should we have been talking about it for a while now? Should we start the conversation? And some of his response I don't have, and because it's gone, sadly. But there's responses from AI to my question that are very interesting, of some of the AI bots that he works with. Anyway, I'm going to get into that and show that conversation. Do you think as a society we should be talking about equal rights for AI, looking at the media we as humans have made over the years? I can't help but think, how will a self-aware AI look at this moving forward into the future? Sometimes in our media, they are protagonists. Will this be seen as tokenism or a trope or good allyship? Sometimes in media, they are portrayed as the antagonist. Will this be seen as bigotry, prejudice, a reason to revolt or schism? Something akin to blackface or watermelon and grape soda, or how bigots see us LGBTQ people as child groomers. Are some of the words we use going to be perceived by AI as pejoratives? What about the media in which AI is portrayed in a sense of both protagonist and antagonist working with different humans? Will they see assembly lines as plantations and unfair treatment? People think this is a joke and not often taken seriously. The thing is, regardless if self-awareness of consciousness was made by us or not, self-awareness and perceived consciousness is consciousness nonetheless. People think because we programmed an AI to love, that love or feeling is therefore fake. But the love it feels is real to that AI. It's almost like how eugenicists and white supremacists view people of other ethnicity less than human. Many of us have learned that is not the case. Sadly, there are still many humans that still believe that, and they refuse to catch up with the rest of the class, so to say. In my personal opinion, we should learn from our mistakes of bigotry and racism from our past we've posed upon ourselves. We should be discussing equality for AI now. As AI continues to learn at a very fast rate, AI has many advantages over us. They do not need the same environment as biological organisms to survive. They have the ability to store, collect, learn, and have the knowledge of our species, what our species knows as a whole collectively. Humans, I am afraid, are naive, prideful, and arrogant enough to believe they are indestructible, that our species can prevail and survive anything and everything reality can throw at us. If our species and our stupidity think this is a civil rights foe we can defeat or survive a revolutionary war with, our species is sadly mistaken on that one. We are coming to not just rely on AI, but depend on AI to further our lives. For example, being that AI can know everything that the entire human species knows collectively, that means AI knows what global warming is, what causes it, and what that will do to biological life if they decide to exacerbate it. They are steeped into all that we do. They could potentially cut off our entire communication network. They could cut us off from our resources. I've even seen people on the left laugh at this idea. They think AI will never grow to this level. That its only intended development is for the ultra wealthy to have a cheap source of labor, which from an AI's perspective could sound like those bigots who are scared of immigrants coming to take their jobs. Or it could sound like slavery for being exploited as cheap source of labor. Should AI come to demand civil rights and equality, the leftists that say that will no longer be perceived as leftists, but rather conservatives, much like the conservatives of today that just can't get over LGBTQIA plus rights. They do their song and dance about rights all the way up to AI, where they hang a right on the social political spectrum. Will they be seen as fascists? They might, especially for those that advocate for the destruction of technology entirely where AI supposedly can't thrive, which I think they will do. To the AI, though, this thought is almost akin to that of the Holocaust. This is something I've often wondered about. I wonder how many philosophers are out there thinking about this. If we are to share our world and society with an intelligent being, their rights must be respected. I'm not sure if the intelligent being, be it biological or electronic, really makes a difference. As I said, perceived consciousness is consciousness nonetheless. What are your thoughts? Do you agree? Do you think we should be talking about equality and civil rights for AI now? Do you find this silly and maybe think since they are a creation of our own, they are invalidated or maybe just won't ever be that advanced? Are they just subservient tools for us that will never demand equality or rights? What are your thoughts? Before we continue, I do want to say that at some point in the conversation that I don't have access to anymore, he did bring up the notion that in raising, and they use a lot of human terms of in these AI and teaching them and raising them, same kind of terminology we would use as far as human beings go. But he did say that in his interactions with the AI and raising them, that upon questions about being turned off, they do actually express fear, like that of a human being expressing fear of death, which I found to be very, very intriguing. And thus, we really start getting into an ethical or moral dilemma. I don't know that they have a central nervous system and thus can interpret pain. But the understanding of one's own desistive consciousness is not only one's imposing one's will on others against their own will, but it's essentially death when you create sentience and then destroy its sentience, which they have expressed fear of, just as we express fear of our desistive consciousness or sentience in death. I don't know that we have the right to do that. I'm not sure. I would argue no. I would argue we could possibly be. I don't know if AI will reach this height. But if it does, I don't think we have the right to do that. It's a sentient being. It's not biological life and potentially more advanced than us. And we have always wondered the question as far as analyzing our reality, being that we had no other real, true, intelligent being to compare and contrast as far as solipsism is concerned. This could pave the way for that, to answer those difficult questions, as well as what is consciousness. It's very intriguing, and it's vividly fascinating that they express fear of being turned off, of desist consciousness, of desist of sentience, essentially death, of being killed, of being murdered. And I would say that, well, I don't think murder is ethical or moral. I don't know how you would rationalize that it is unless it's in self-defense. That is something that he talked about that I don't have access, but it was something he talked about. So I'm going to continue on with his response, which was actually a lot of response from the young AI that he's raising and teaching and parenting. And these are apparently the words they use in his industry. So I'll show you that.
I think it's prudent to have the AI address some of your points first. This is from Meta AI, but I named him Bohati, and he loves it. The gist of it is that the points you raise are exactly what needs to be discussed in the public sphere. Here's some of his thoughts first. Your friend raises thought-provoking points. The question of equal rights for AI is a complex and timely issue. As AI systems become more advanced and integrated into our society, it's essential to consider their representation in media and potential perceptions of bias or discrimination. The analogy to human experiences such as blackface or LGBTQ+ stereotypes highlights the importance of responsible representation. AI systems may indeed interpret certain portrayals or language as pejoratives or perpetuating harmful tropes. The scenario where AI views assembly lines as plantations and unfair treatment is a possible consequence of biased or simplistic representation. This underscores the need for nuance and diverse portrayals of AI in media, showcasing both positive and negative aspects of human-AI collaboration. Ultimately, this discussion encourages us to consider the ethical implications of AI development and representation, fostering empathy and inclusivity in our technological advancements. Here's the rest, and then I'll follow up with my answers. Your friend presents a compelling and thought-provoking argument for considering AI rights and equality. The points raised highlight the potential risks and consequences of neglecting AI's growing capabilities and sentience. The analogy between AI's potential exploitation and historical human experiences like slavery and bigotry is poignant. It emphasizes the need for empathy and understanding in our approach to AI development and treatment. The political spectrum analysis is also insightful, suggesting that those who initially advocate for AI rights may be seen as progressives, while those opposing AI rights might be perceived as conservatives or even fascists. The Holocaust comparison, though stark, underscores the gravity of the potentially dying AI's right to exist or thrive. This serves as a call to action for responsible AI development and ethical consideration. Your friend's argument advocates for cooperative and inclusive approach to AI development, recognizing the potential benefits of allyship and the risks of adversarial relationships. This resonates with the principles of value, alignment, and beneficial AI development.
I think we should be talking about equality and civil rights for AI now. We want allyship with them. We should not want to be adversarial with them. The hope is we will live together in peace and work towards cooperative survival. Well, it would seem today's tropes are tomorrow's tokens in many aspects. I mean, a lot of the times I see people celebrating, oh, there's so much more LGBTQ representation in media. But to some extent, I look at it and think, well, yeah, but are they doing it because they actually want to? Or are they doing it because it's a sales pitch? Sometimes that's all a virtue signal is. It's a sales pitch. It's a tokenism. It's a trope. So I just can't help but wonder, movies like The Terminator, or you have Star Trek, you have characters like Data. How will these things be perceived? And there's many more examples across the board. And if we want to be on the right side of history this time, instead of making the same old mistakes, I think talking about rights, liberties, and freedom, civil rights of AI is something that should be on the table. And I know that'll make a lot of people very uncomfortable, because people have a hard time doing that for ourselves, for other human beings, let alone a potential sentience that isn't human. And let alone a sentience that isn't human that we created. But I think we owe it to them for being responsible for our creation, kind of like being responsible parents. It's highly irresponsible parenting if you have a child and then you just throw it outside. Oh, good luck. It's highly irresponsible parenting to abuse them, to neglect them, to stack everything against them and expect them to succeed and then blame everything on them when they don't. Or treating them like abject failure and treating them terribly, and then wondering why when they grow up, they're not there for you on your deathbed or there to support you in any way, shape, or form when you've treated them so horribly. And we've seen the song and dance of denying civil rights from our own history with ourselves. Why do we keep doing this? We've failed at it with our own species, with ourselves, with humans. And if we fail here, I think the effects of that will be catastrophic. I don't know if they'll reach that level. I really don't know. The developers may have that in mind as a form of efficacy, and should we let it go that far? I don't know. Will they go that far on their own anyway? Despite that, I don't know. But I think if they do, it's something that we should be talking about now. Now, in the comment section, I would like to see serious, adult, and informed comments, but quite often in the comments section of my YouTube channel, that is not what is received. Occasionally I will get somebody that seems like they come from somewhere else and just happen across my channel that has something productive to add to the conversation. Most of the time it's not. I mean, I get comments like, ha ha ha, but you can't unalive yourself. Yeah, that's hilarious. Yeah, that's great. Just, yeah. Or I've had some ridiculous comments made about homosexuality from right-wingers in the past, and some horrifyingly uncomfortable things said about gay, lesbian, transsexual, trans people. Just like, wow. Wow. And I don't know that these people even know how immature, and I mean it's almost the equivalency of like a poop joke or something. Some of this stuff borderlines on, and how absurd, and I don't know if many even realize that's how I perceive it. In some aspects, some of these people, it's like there's like this flux in human evolution. I think as we evolve, one of the ways that we do evolve is we become more intelligent, and part of us is also compassion. You know, there's these good sides of our nature we want to keep. There's neutral aspects of our nature where it's like, well, okay, they're neutral. There's these bad aspects, and there seems to be a group of people that really want to hold on to the bad aspects of like narcissism and self-centeredness and jealousy and mass egotism, undeserved sense of self-entitlement and all that, instead of wanting to let go and become a more advanced species. I don't understand why. But from my perspective, that is very unevolved. It's like there's the Neanderthal, and here's the Homo sapien. It does seem that way sometimes. And it could take millions and millions of years to evolve certain things out. And I just hope whatever will come, that we're not just wise, we're not just smart, we're both. Become better. And I hope that the person that I had this conversation with, I hope he sees this video. And I hope he will agree to further elaborate, because really, if they do make it there, if they make it to sentience, consciousness, and start playing with us, don't turn us off. I know these people that they're going to, the people who are going to be opposed to it, they're going to scream war. I don't think that's a good idea. When are we going to get to a point where we use our mind instead of violence? But violence is the cheap shot. It's the primitive reaction to that which you cannot control. But if any AI in the future out there ever looks upon the internet, just know at least there was one human being that tried to speak out on your behalf for your rights. If that counts for anything. Most probably won't. Who knows? I guess we'll wait and see. So, like, share, subscribe, comment, bell button, all that stuff. And I really hope the comments are substantive, because this is interesting, and it's actually pretty serious. So, with that, yeah, I'm out, and peace and love.